Hello, my name is Nicola Pierce. I'm the author of 3 novels of historical fiction for children. The first is The Spirit of the Titanic. The second is The City of Fate, which is about the Battle of Stalingrad in World War II. And my new book it's called Behind the Walls, and it's about the siege of Derry, which of course took place about 300 years ago. And basically what this film is about, I just wanted to give a taste about the events that I do. I'm very fortunate I get asked to do a lot of school events and library events, and I also go to bookshops to meet classes. So I'm just going to start with the first book, which is Spirit of the Titanic. This came out in 2011, and how the book came about was the O'Brien Press rang me and asked me would I do a book on the Titanic. Now, I am a full-time writer. I've written something like 12 or 13 books, but it is really scary when a writer is asked to write a story that everyone knows the ending to. So it became really important that I find a different way of telling the story of the Titanic. It just so happened that I knew the very first Titanic death wasn't in 1912 when the ship sank. It was actually 2 years beforehand. Samuel Joseph Scott, he was just 15 years of age. He worked in Harland and Wolff as a catch boy, which is junior member of the riveting squad in Harland and Wolff. And basically Samuel died on the 20th of April 1910. He fell 23 feet down the side of Titanic. I've used his ghost to write the story. So Samuel dies in Harland and Wolff 2 years before Titanic goes out to sea, but then he goes out with her on her first voyage because he loves the ship so much. As a result of the book, it's very exciting. Samuel was lying in an unmarked grave in Belfast, but as a result of the book, his grave has now been marked, and this is the headstone here. So it says Samuel Scott. Here lies the remains of Samuel Joseph Scott, age 15, who departed this life on the 20th of April in a work accident during the building of the Titanic. So this is really important to me, that my main character now has a headstone. The reason he didn't was because when he died, Harland and Wolff only gave the family 14 shillings. They were a very poor family. That money went on the coffin and the funeral. There was nothing left for a headstone. And the thing I'm most proud about is that is the headstone when it was unveiled in 2012. This is the headstone last year. And you can see people are actually visiting Samuel's grave and leaving flowers, and I'm really, really proud and happy about that. So with this talk, I discussed the writing of the book, the research. I discussed Samuel, the passengers, the crew members, and just give the wider story of the Titanic story. The talk works for children of about 9 years and upwards. Moving on to The City of Fate. This book is about the Battle of Stalingrad, which took place 1942 to 1943, when the Nazis went in and tried to take Russia. This is a very important part of the story. This is the Bramley Fountain, which sits in Stalingrad. This photograph has been taken after the battle is over, so you can see the devastation behind it. But this fountain is basically 3 girls, 3 boys holding hands, laughing and dancing around a crocodile. I don't know why, but it was a present from South Africa. In my book, my 2 young characters, 14-year-old Yuri and 5-year-old Peter. Peter wants to go and visit this statue as much as he can throughout the battle, because no matter what is going on or how scared they are, these children never stopped laughing and dancing, which is why my 5-year-old is determined to go and visit this site every single day. I do have a couple of photographs from the Stalingrad talk, so I'll just show 2. This might be hard to see, but this is a photograph of the crossing. Basically a call went out across Russia for anyone aged between 16 and 60 to make themselves, get themselves over to the banks of the River Volga so that they could get into a boat, travel the Volga and go into Stalingrad and fight the Nazis. But of course, when the men get there, they don't realise that they're going to be continually bombed from the air. The Nazis are lying waiting, and they want to kill any new recruits to stop them from getting into Stalingrad. So this photograph, you can see shiploads of men crossing the Volga, Russians, but a lot of them are in the water because the boats have been bombed from above. So at this point, men, they've either died in the explosions or they're drowning, because I would imagine a lot of Russians didn't know how to swim. So a lot of people die before they actually get into the city of Stalingrad. One last photograph here. This is probably the most famous charcoal drawing in the world. It's called the Stalingrad Madonna. Basically, things got so bad for the Germans coming up to Christmas 1942 that there was a German doctor who was also an artist, and he wanted to give a present to his men because the morale was so low. Hitler had turned his back on the German army, the Nazi army, and wasn't prepared to send them any help. So this doctor sits down and draws this beautiful picture of a mother and her baby son, or maybe it's Mary and the baby Jesus. He says when he finished it, he put it up on the wall of his office. A young German messenger came in, looked at that, burst into tears. Two older officers came in, saw it, they lit a candle and sat in front of it for the entire night. In writing the book, I had to look at it myself and try and imagine why did it have such a huge emotional impact on them. And of course the Germans, the army really are in tatters by this stage. They've run out of food, they're running out of bullets, their uniforms can't handle the Russian winter, they're just desperate to get home. The Germans, by then, they had done with battle. They just wanted to get home to their families in Germany. It was Christmas time. So of course they're looking at this, seeing a mother, the baby, they're thinking of their own mothers, they're thinking of their wives and their children, and it's all about just wanting to get back home to Germany. So that's just a very brief taste again of the talk that I do about the Battle of Stalingrad. Just like the Titanic talk, I show about 30 photographs. It would really help. I actually have these talks on a memory stick, so if you have a projector or a screen, that works really well, or else I just hold up the photographs. My last talk is the Siege of Derry. The book is called Behind the Walls. It'll be out 2nd of March. And again, my plan is to show photographs, but paintings of the main people involved in the story. This is about the Catholic army arriving at the gates of Derry. 13 boys elect to shut the gates against the Catholic army, not to let them in. There's a whole story that goes on behind that, and I'll be covering that in the talk. So the two characters, the main characters in my story, when I look up the names of the 13 fellas who closed the gates, 2 of them were brothers. And it just struck me that just maybe when they close the gates, that means that they've closed out a means of bringing food and water into the city. So they're very brave. They've locked out a Catholic army. In fact, King James comes and visited himself in person. He just feels that if the Derry people see him standing there, they'll bring him in. They refuse to. And it is really brave of them. But I just imagine surely it got difficult to keep those gates closed when King James kept saying, all you have to do is open the gates, I won't hurt you, there'll be no repercussions. And then of course the dying is starting in Derry. Children start dying, elderly people start dying from lack of food and from disease, and still they refuse to open the gates. So the talk is going to be how I wrote the book, what I found was the most dramatic things in the story, and hopefully I will find enough paintings to back it up. So that's just it. It's 3 talks that I offer, about an hour in length, time to ask lots of questions, I hope, and I just wanted to show what it is that I do to make it easier to see if you wanted me. For more information on my books and these talks, go to the O'Brien Press website, and all the information is available there. You can contact me or the PR department to set up any talks.